Hey everybody, here is how a nephron works. Let's take a look at the kidney. So the word renal means kidney in Latin. Nephro means kidney in Greek. So when you hear someone going through renal failure, that means kidney failure. Someone who studies kidneys and is a kidney doctor, they are a nephrologist. Let's look at the overview of the gross anatomy of a kidney really quick. On the outside portion, you have the cortex. On the inside middle portion, you have the medulla. The medulla is made up of these renal pyramids. And then the center is the pelvis. That's where all of the calyx will come together to merge with the ureter. You have the renal artery supplying the kidney with blood. Okay, if we look at one of these renal pyramids, you can see that above it in the cortex, you have the start of a nephron, which dips down into the medulla in the renal pyramid, which we're going to zoom in on here. So this whole structure is a nephron. I'm going to move myself all the way over here. Whee! And then we're going to talk about this. Okay, so starting at the blood entering the kidney at the renal artery, it comes up here, and then it branches into a bunch of renal arterioles. Those are the smaller arteries. They form this capillary bed called the glomerulus, which comes into contact, or it comes very close by to the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule is the start of the renal tubule, which is a tube that is going to collect all of the waste products that will eventually become your urine. So the liquid in the blood is the plasma. The liquid in the tubule is called the filtrate. It's because that's what we're filtering out of the blood. So here in the Bowman's capsule, step one of urine production is filtration. All of the small molecules will exit the blood via diffusion, and it will enter the filtrate. So that means water and waste products and glucose and other nutrients, right? So stuff we want and stuff we don't want gets filtered out at first. That's filtration. It happens right here at the glomerulus. Stuff from the glomerulus is leaving and entering the Bowman's capsule. Then we have step two, which is reabsorption. That's when we reabsorb stuff from the filtrate into the blood that we do want. And that's mostly nutrients, things like glucose and vitamins. Now, we can follow the renal arteriole that would go here. Really, it would be really close to the proximal convoluted tubule. That's why it's all wiggly like this, to increase the surface area. And this blood vessel would be following along so that we can maximize that interaction with the surface area to reabsorb as many nutrients as possible. Because we don't want to pee out our nutrients. So we're reabsorbing the things that we do want back into the blood. Then we dip down here near the nephron loop, which is also called the loop of Henle. And down here, as we descend into the medulla, as we can see again up here, the proximal convoluted tubule and the distal convoluted tubule are up here in the cortex. But the loop, the nephron loop, dips down into the medulla. As you go deeper into the medulla, it is increasingly salty because of something we'll talk about later. But because it is so salty down here, water is drawn out of the nephron loop via osmosis, and then that re-enters the blood. So that's part of reabsorption. We're reabsorbing mostly nutrients up here in the proximal convoluted tubule. And then when we get down to the nephron loop, we're absorbing lots of water. Because water is an important resource, we don't want to waste it, so we're going to hold on to as much as we can. Then when we come over to the ascending loop, or the ascending side of the nephron loop, that is where we are actively using energy to pump out sodium and chloride ions. So we're pumping salt out of the filtrate, and that's what creates those salty conditions in order for us to reabsorb that water. Okay, then we come up here, back up to the cortex. We hit the distal convoluted tubule. Up in the distal convoluted tubule, we have the third step of urine production, which is called secretion. And that's where we actively pump bad things out of our blood. Anything that was too large to be filtered out in step one, we actively use ATP to pump out. That's stuff like ammonia and also larger drug molecules that couldn't fit through here. Then what's left of the filtrate collects into these collecting ducts. You can see that it branches off to a bunch of different nephrons. Each of your kidneys has about 1 million nephrons. And then that collecting duct will go down to a calyx, which will then go to your ureters, which is over here. And your ureters connects to your bladder. So that's where the urine goes. Now, if you are dehydrated, then your brain, your hypothalamus, which I'll show you right here, your hypothalamus detects you don't have enough water in your blood, and it sends a signal to your pituitary gland, which is right here. And the pituitary gland releases a hormone called anti-diuretic hormone. Now, a diuretic is something that makes you pee a lot. So an anti-diuretic is something that's going to stop you from peeing a bunch. So if anti-diuretic hormone is present, the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct become more permeable to water. They're basically going to leak out water. So that water is going to leak out of the collecting duct and the tubule over here, and it's going to enter our blood. And so that means what ends up reaching the ureter and the bladder, there's less water there, which means your urine's going to be more concentrated and the volume is going to be less. So you're going to have darker urine, you're going to have less urine. You're going to pee less because we want to hold on to as much water as possible. Again, that's if you're dehydrated. There's more antidiuretic hormone. So more water leaks out of the filtrate and into your blood, so you pee less. If you are very well hydrated, then there's no antidiuretic hormone present, in which case these structures are not permeable to water. So all the water that's still in there stays in there, reaches your bladder. You have more volume in your urine, so it's more dilute, it's more clear, and you pee more often, which we all know. If you drink more water, you pee more often. If you drink less water, you pee less often. This is how your body maintains homeostasis through this negative feedback loop around antidiuretic hormone, right? That's part of your endocrine system. Okay. Step 4, as we said, is excretion. The filtrate collects into the collecting duct. It is now urine. It goes down to the ureter, goes to your bladder, and then you pee it out. And that's how a nephron works. If you have more questions, send me an email. I'd be happy to help. I don't know how to stop this recording, so we're just going to bumble around until, okay, bye.